handle my style? Can you handle my attitude? Are you ready for me? I guarantee you will get it.
If you have a daughter, it's likely you're familiar with Bratz, the must-have doll for the under 10 set.
I think you could take on Mattel.
Why not? The people who run Mattel put their pants on the same way as everybody else does.
Since their launch in 2001, Bratz dolls have been flying off the shelves. They're fun, they're fashionable, and their heads are enormous.
But then if you see Bratz in their flashing new coats and everything, you think, wow, I wish I could be that Bratz doll, or I want that Bratz doll now.
Bratz don't look like real people. They are like a fantasy. Everybody can imagine being a Bratz.
But Angelina started to notice they don't look quite like her.
They only have like blonde hair, mostly blonde hair.
I don't think an African American girl or a Middle Eastern ethnic background girl or a Latin girl wants to buy necessarily a blonde doll. I think they want to buy something that basically resembles who they are.
MGA Entertainment is bringing back those wide-eyed dolls called Bratz.
Don't theorize, accessorize.
You sound like a linebacker on a football team. You're like taunting Mattel.
It's good.
It's good
for the business.
Trash talking in the doll business is good?
I'm not trash talking. I'm talking about the facts.
Hi Bratz Party Pack, welcome back to my channel where we talk all things Bratz and MGA Entertainment. For today's video, it's going to be a little bit different from my normal uploads on this channel because it's going to be the start of a new series where we discuss and uncover important topics within the doll community. If you're not familiar with me and who I am, hi, my name is Brandy. I'm 22 years young and I do have a passion for fashion, but I'm also a very critical thinker and really opinionated. So when I joined the doll community this past June, I was shocked to uncover the various topics of scalpers, price inequities, and the biggest battle with the biggest toy company in America, or in the world, Mattel. If you've been living under a rock and don't know who the Bratz are or who created them, let me give you a brief history lesson. Well, it all started in 1988 when former artist Carter Bryant saw a group of teenagers in trendy and stylish outfits pass him by. Inspired by the encounter, Carter developed the concept of 4 BFFs who each had their own individual style and funky personality. He originally came up with the names Zoe, Lupe, Holiday, and Jade, which we all know today as Chloe, Yasmin, Sasha, and Jade.
Passion, show it in your fashion. The girls with a passion for fashion.
In 2001, Bratz was acquired by Isaac Loran, who we have seen become the face of MGA today. After a successful 15 years of production, the Bratz ceased manufacturing of dolls in 2016 after a long monopoly by Barbie, which was another topic for another video. We will get into it. But since ended their production of the Bratz dolls, MGA has created several other doll lines and doll collections, including Rainbow High dolls, LOL Surprise, and OMG dolls. But let's start the story from the beginning and how I began my journey with Bratz. My introduction to the infamous Bratz dolls began around 2005. I would beg my parents to buy me all the latest in Bratz doll collections and electronics. I would even create mini movies of my dolls, which are still up on YouTube now.
The Bachelor. Today on The Bachelor, the girls finally meet Ethan and get their first challenge.
Oh, I know, super embarrassing, right? But this channel allowed me to express different forms of my creativity and self-expression through my dolls. And at times, it gave me comfort during periods of loneliness. I remember watching hours of Angela Park's The Fabulous Life of Bratz series and even reenactments of popular music videos at the time like Katy Perry, Lady Gaga, Beyonce, the list goes on and on. But as I entered middle school, my desire to play with dolls dwindled as I entered my own journey of self-discovery, which is totally normal, and I'm pretty sure you guys have experienced the same thing. It wasn't until 10 years later when I find myself reconnecting with the franchise that meant so much to me as a kid. With the re-release of the 20th anniversary dolls, brought lots of buzz surrounding the iconic Bratz brand. Many collectors, old and new, were highly anticipating the relaunch to reconnect to childhood and Y2K nostalgia. I included wanted to connect to my inner child, and I thought to myself, hey, why not start collecting my old childhood dolls again? And so my journey began, and down the rabbit hole I went. And was I in for a treat? Rediscovering iconic collections like Bratz Forever Diamonds, Bratz Fashion Pixies, Rock Angels brought me so much joy. But the honeymoon phase was soon to be over, as I quickly noticed the price inequity between Caucasian and people of color Bratz dolls. On July 11th, 2021, I decided to share my research and thoughts on the matter by saying the following. Since entering the doll community a month ago, I've noticed a huge inequity in pricing of Sasha and Felicia dolls. A huge goal of my doll collecting has been to rebuild much of my favorite dolls from childhood. Many from collections that I'm sure you all know and love. Bratz Genie Magic, Bratz Campfire, and Bratz Passion for Fashion, to name a few. From my research, I discovered that some of my favorite Sasha dolls are priced astronomically higher compared to Cloe dolls. For example, the Passion for Fashion Cloe doll is priced at $59.99 on eBay. But the Passion for Fashion Sasha is priced at a staggering $705. Being that I'm a black doll collector, representation of who I am and what I love is important to me. To see sellers pricing the dolls from my childhood for $500 to $1,000 is disheartening. I feel as though sellers are using the color of Sasha's skin as well as Felicia's as leverage to charge people more money and mask it as rarity. When actuality, it's active racism, sweetie. I didn't say sweetie, but in fact, you can find several listings of them on eBay. So to claim that these dolls are rare is false. In my opinion, many sellers are hiding behind the term rare to make what they're doing okay, and it's not. I believe that everyone should have the opportunity to enjoy their favorite Bratz collections. Dolls, in my opinion, represent real human experiences, i.e. Barbies becoming doctors and veterinarians, or Bratz becoming editors-in-chiefs of magazines. Dolls in many ways represent mirrors of ourselves and who we aspire to be in society. No matter who you are, you should be able to build the collection of your dreams. But frankly, I think that many of these sellers are holding black dolls and dolls of color hostage, which inevitably takes away the opportunity for anyone to actually enjoy these dolls at a fair price. I'm frustrated, but I'm determined to see this through. But I'm curious to know if anyone has any thoughts on the matter. I encourage you all to comment below or DM me directly to create a conversation about this. Thank you so much, and I really appreciate this community and all the people I've met so far. The response that I received from this post was overwhelming. I had no idea that so many of you shared the same grievances with scalper pricing and the obvious inequity between black dolls and people of color dolls versus Chloe's. I am aware that the trend of scalper pricing is not exclusive to black and people of color dolls, and that is a topic that I will be discussing in a future video. But although my post was met with much support from many of you who follow me and are subscribed to this channel, I do want to acknowledge opinions of the latter and dissect them. For the sake of time, I won't dissect everything this person mentioned in this comment because, quite frankly, not everything said was relevant to the point of the statement that I was making. But I will highlight 3 things that this individual mentioned, which is the following. Point number 1, it's not racism, it's just supply and demand. Point 2, they manufactured less black and people of color dolls. And point 3, the Pokemon collectible cards as well as the Barbie comparison.
Sorry, but I can't agree with you on that. It's not racism, it's just supply and demand. I collect Barbie movie dolls and their prices jumped so high recently since COVID started. It's almost the same in every collector community. White movie dolls are higher priced than the black ones from the same movie. Black dolls in the past weren't mass produced as the white ones, just because they weren't selling that good. So we have a lack of supplies in particular areas such as predominantly white cities or neighborhoods. I don't know if you're familiar with Pokemon collectible cards. There are cards priced for $5 and cards priced for insane $5,000. If we go by this logic, we could price every card $5 because some people couldn't afford it. And that's the whole point of collecting. Every collector's dream and goal is to own a rare and sought after item. If everything's priced the same, if every item is priced at bare minimum, there's no point of collecting. That would be retail price, just going to the store and buying stuff. Collecting is expensive.
So let's start off with our first point, which is it's not racism, it's just supply and demand. By definition, supply and demand can be defined as the amount of a commodity, product, or service available and the desire of buyers for it, considered as factors regulating the price. Basically meaning when a product is highly sought after, it may experience price inflation. And this would make sense if there was a limited quantity of these Black and people of color dolls. But there is not. For example, the highly sought after Felicia. I know if you're in the doll community, you've seen her go from a staggering $700 to $1,000. Felicia can be discovered on eBay with over 10 listings. And that's not even including Mercari and other websites, which does not make the doll limited in quantity or rare like it is in the definition of supply and demand. Dictionary.com defines rarity as not found in large numbers and consecutively of interest or value. Again, this proves my point that it's not a supply and demand issue. These are the definitions, these are the facts. But this entire supply and demand topic that this individual brought up sparked a different conversation in my head that surpassed dolls. Wow, this has happened before in history, how Black and brown people have been systematically at a disadvantage because who has the money, in my opinion, to afford a $700 to $1,000 doll? Not to say that Black and brown people cannot afford that, but I started to think this can occur within something as trivial as dolls. I also wanted to add that I thought that it was interesting that they mentioned that COVID was the start of the skyrocketing in doll pricing, because it got me thinking again, what was another major event that occurred during the pandemic? Black Lives Matter. After the death of George Floyd, millions of Americans and people across the globe stood in solidarity with the Black community in their stance against police brutality. It also began a celebration and appreciation of Black culture, music, fashion, and so much more. And this appreciation even trickled down to the doll community. People shared their items and dolls that represented Black pride and Black beauty, and there was much of a resurgence of Black is beautiful, more of appreciation of darker and deeper skin tones. Not to say that Black Lives Matter was the sole cause of the skyrocketing in pricing, but I do think that scalpers did try to benefit off of this and have financial gain from something like Black Lives Matter because it was such a huge historical event that occurred. And I think that it is shady. It's not a coincidence that all of a sudden this Felicia doll has become so highly sought after. A lot of people have made being Black a trend, and it's not a trend, and it's not something that should be profited off of like it's the next cool thing. I am Black 100% of the time. I wake up in my Black skin. I cannot erase this, and it's not something that a scalper should be able to make a quick $1,000 off of to pay their rent. I'm sorry, but there should be better ways to be able to create a steady income during a time like this, and that's just my opinion. Let's move on to her second point, where this individual mentions that they manufactured less Black and people of color dolls. So if that is in fact true, and they did not manufacture equal quantity of the people of color dolls and the Black dolls versus the blue-eyed, blonde-haired dolls, that is racist too. And I think that anybody who doesn't see that that is racist is the problem. Why would you intentionally manufacture less dolls for the people that you are supposedly catering towards and that you are targeting? Why would a brand, right, like Bratz, who He said it himself, Isaac Loran.
I don't think an African American, Middle Eastern ethnic background girl or Latin girl wants to buy necessarily a blonde doll. I think they want to buy something that basically resembles who they are.
So if that is true what you're saying, they intentionally did not manufacture more black dolls, I feel like that is racist too. If that is the case, a brand like Bratz that targets urban audiences would exclude the individuals that they take from in regards of their culture. If you look at the Bratz dolls, what I always noticed is that they have mimicked so many of features from black and brown people with their lips, their hair features, their hair textures, a lot of the vernacular in their speech, including Sasha, is AAVE, African American vernacular. I think that that's incredibly interesting if that's the truth, because how can you say, okay, well, they just manufactured less black dolls when the dolls mimic black people, black and brown people, and they take from their cultures, but say it's not racism at the same time? Make it make sense. It doesn't make sense to me. The third point that this individual made was the Pokemon collectible and Bratz comparison. So firstly, these are not Pokemon cards. These are not Barbie dolls. These are Bratz dolls. And I know that it's easy to make comparisons like that because they're all in a similar category of games and toys. It's important to differentiate the three and know the difference, because Pokemon cards do not reflect or indicate with people the way that dolls do, and especially Bratz because they are considered an urban doll and they are catered to people of color and black and brown people. They cater to two different audiences.
Judge Alex Kaczynski noted that Barbie is relatively demure, whereas Bratz are urban, multi-ethnic, and trendy. Dolls with attitude. In other words, the two products are plenty different.
Barbie has always catered to the white audiences. Recently, she has been doing an amazing job of representation and inclusivity and showing different ethnicities within her product lines, which is amazing, and I do love to see it. But I think that it's important to note that these dolls cater to different audiences. And although this topic may seem trivial to some and it's not that deep to many, I think that it's really important to highlight topics such as this, especially when the dolls, like the Bratz, are connected so much to Black culture and people of color. I think that it's important to understand the inequities and to understand where this all comes from. And in part 2 of this series, which will be coming very soon, we will be discussing the root of this inequity. As a Black doll collector, I know that it's not necessarily my responsibility to educate others on the inequities within the community. I do love to talk about it, and it's important to me, and it's going to help future young girls with representation with something as simple as a doll. It's going to change the world when we are able to acknowledge our differences, acknowledge the realities of the price collecting and scalper world, and that there is layers of racism within it. I think that we are, as a community, can go so much further, and we can really bring about change. But that's all that I have for you all today. I hope that I was able to express and adequately convey my thoughts and my opinions and the facts of the matter, because I've noticed that people are very quick to write off something that they have never experienced. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions down below, and I really hope that you're all able to gain a thorough understanding of where I'm coming from with this video. And I'm so excited that I was able to highlight something that's really important for me, and I hope that I can create change to other young girls if Bratz ever come and release another line, that representation is important, that if you're going to come out with more Bratz dolls, that they take exactly from features of people of color and Black culture you should include us in every step of the way. We are not an afterthought. We should be the forefront of conversation and inclusivity. And I think that that is important. And that's basically why I did this video. But again, comment your thoughts down below. I really do hope you guys enjoyed. And part 2 will be coming very soon your way, where we will discuss further and you will be able to gain a greater understanding of the fullness of why this inequity is so apparent. And I can't wait to share it with you guys. I love you guys so much, and I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.